Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Monday morning call. Condolences for all the Bronco fans, and congrats to all the Seahawk fans. So we'll go ahead and get started. We got a jam-packed call today with lots of different topics. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the event. We've had lots of events going on, and I think it was last week or the week before we talked about Mike Bauman's improvement to the close, and then I was talking to Eric Dorman, and he had been using used Mike Bauman's close and the other improvements that we'd made, and he had a very respectable first event off his mailing. But then we talked and made some changes to the closing there for his second event from the mailing, and he had a big jump in improvement and appointments again. So I have Eric on the call here to talk about that. So Eric, can you let us know what happened?
Sure, Mike. The first one, I mean, we got some appointments and we did the presets, but wasn't real happy with the results that we had. There was a lot of single females there too. But anyway, I had the chat with you. You said to make it more powerful, and when I say more powerful, the power of attorney. The first time I ran through it, 20 people in the room, I'd asked who has a power of attorney. One couple raised their hand, and that was it. And you said I should have circled back. So the second time I did, I had 2 or 3 couples the second time around that raised their hands. Went through the importance of the power of attorney. A couple more did raise their hand, but really drove home, told some powerful stories of the power of attorney before we even got into the 9 points or whatever ahead of time, and then hit it at the end. Then at the very end, the close, you said my story wasn't strong enough, so we made a much more.
I'm going to jump in. Eric, I'm going to jump in there for a second.
Go ahead.
You're fading in and out, so I'm going to go kind of recapitulate what you just said there. So
Sure.
the first time, with the first meeting that he had, a lot of the people said they didn't even have powers of attorney, and so he went ahead and moved on, because there's no real part of the script that says how to deal with that. So I said, if that ever happens again, then what you need to do is spend some time and make sure people in that room understand the importance of a power of attorney, kind of like we do at the disclosure meeting. And they have to buy into the fact that if the power of attorney isn't working, or they don't have a power of attorney, that their family could be up the crick. They wouldn't be able to access money when they needed it most, to really hit on that hard. And he said that Eric said there was a lot of single women at that first event, and again, so a lot of them did not have powers of attorney, but so the second time, he really hit that power of attorney really hard, making sure everybody in the room understood the importance of the power of attorney, and more importantly, how badly their family could be affected by not having a power of attorney that was actually working. So guys, you need to make sure that power of attorney is a major pressure point during this event. So you have to make sure that everybody in the room is buying into the fact that if they don't have a working power of attorney, that their family is up the river without a paddle. Okay, so that was the one major change he made. And then go ahead, Eric.
And then the second change was the story. Before I'd used 3 kind of weaker stories for the energy audit, the home security, and the vehicle report, vehicle inspection. And he said to drop the first 2 and just hit a really strong, powerful, and longer story on the vehicle inspection. So I did, and I had asked. I think it went something like, I know somebody. We'll call him, my neighbor, and he has a daughter that is going to college, and he just got a new car. So do you think he sent his daughter with the new car, or the car that it replaced, the 10-year-old, reliable, been there for a long time, and great maintenance, upkeep, and so obviously which one did the daughter go with? Well, she wanted with the older car. Well, sure she did. And she was going to school in Chicago, and I'm in eastern Pennsylvania, and people know that's a 12-hour drive. You got to drive 80, 90 the whole way, and it's a lot of boring road in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. If I'm not offending anybody in Ohio, but so and somewhere in the middle of there, her car breaks down, and not only that, but it was a routine checkpoint that could have been spotted fairly easily ahead of time. And here's the thing. The wife told the husband ahead of time, we're sending our daughter cross country to college in our old car, great car, but why don't we why don't we just take it down and give it a good once over, get it a good, get it a free inspection, get it a good check. Husband's like, no, the car mechanic, he's just going to want to, find all kinds of things wrong with us and charge us a lot of money. We're already putting a lot of money into college, and we just, I just don't think it's a good use of our time right now, even just to sit down with that. And I'm not doing a really good job here, but in front of everybody, it was I was getting them involved, So how is that husband now? Oh, he's in trouble. Yeah, he's in trouble. Where do you think he's sleeping? Oh my God, he's sleeping on the couch. Yeah, he's sleeping on the couch, and it just really built up really, really well to the point. So I sit down with the first people, and it was almost all.
I'm going to jump in there again, Eric, and kind of again, just because you're coming in and out a little bit, so I'm going to just encapsulate what you said there. So guys, Eric and I sat down and we decided that to get rid of the energy audit and get rid of the security audit of the house, and just instead make the story really powerful for the car check. So as Eric was saying there, we came up with a story, and he told it very, very emotionally. We were saying, hey, listen, daughter's going across the country, and so they bought the family bought a new car. Did the family give her the new car or the old family car, the 10-year-old family car? Well, so they gave the family the 10-year-old family car. So the wife had suggested to go ahead and get that check before she takes that car across country. And the husband says, no, it's been running great for 10 years. There's no problem, and all that's going to happen is that if we bring in the mechanic, he's going to find all sorts of problems. He's just going to gouge us. The car's been working fine, so just go ahead and use. She'll be fine going there. So she goes there, and then she breaks down in the middle of nowhere. And then they find out, that you know what? That if they had taken it and gone through it, the mechanic would have found that very, very easily. But instead, she's there in the middle of nowhere dealing with a mechanic she doesn't know, getting gouged for and then the wife, guess how the wife's going to treat the husband? Because the wife said, go through the 10-point check. I don't care if it's been working good for 10 years. Go through the 21-point auto check. So where do you think the man's going to sleep? So Eric did a fantastic job of making it the point, because that, listen, just because things are going great now doesn't mean that everything's great. There could be things that are broken that hidden right under the skin of things. So, and the reason we're doing that, guys, is because otherwise people won't buy into the fact that they need a 21-point checklist, because what do they say in their heads? Well, everything's going okay now. I don't think I really need that. So we had to really make the point of the smart wife and the dumb husband. The dumb husband said, hey, it's been running great for 10 years. Things are fine. And the smart wife saying, well, I don't care if it's been running for 10 years. We should check this stuff out. And what will happen if you don't check those things out? So he did a fantastic job of just really nailing that story. Okay, then go ahead, Eric.
So then the second guy, which is the front and center guy, and he was kind of sitting there. I didn't really pay too much of attention, but we'll call him a grumpy Gus. And he was just sitting there with his arms crossed and barely kind of looking at me back when I was asking him for the appointment. And he'd let me know loud and clear he's not giving me an appointment. And so I'm leaning in. And he said, lean in and lean in hard. So I leaned in. I got a big smile on my face. And, hey, it's a 21-point checklist. I mean, it doesn't cost nothing. Why don't we just sit down and go through this? We got everything in order, blah, blah, blah. So I said, really? I said, so you're that guy that, that likes to maybe break down in the middle of Ohio or middle of nowhere America. Apparently you must like kind of sleeping on the couch. I just big smile and the guys there. I don't even know if it was a put down or not, but I told you at the end they certainly weren't the ones that came up to me and thanked me and walked out at the end of the day. So, but
well, but see, and here's the thing that Eric is the nicest guy in the world. But I said, Eric, you got to lean. Remember the previous guys when I was saying that we're inviting them to a party. We're inviting them to a party. So if you're inviting somebody to the party of the century, you can lean on them. You can in a friendly way. So now you got to come to this party. You got to come to this party. I said, so lean on these people because they're getting a great service by going through the 21-point checklist. And Eric is just not that kind of guy because he's just nice. But you did lean this time, didn't you? You leaned on him,
Absolutely.
And what bad thing came from that?
Nothing. I got one other appointment that I wouldn't have, and she was really nice. So
Yeah.
leaned in a little harder, and I said, she's like, "What's the catch?" I said, "Look, I'm an Eagle Scout." I said, "Scout's honor. There's no catch. It's not going to cost you anything. You're going to sit down. We're going to go through it, and so where are you going to make your money?" I said, "Well," I said, "some people are going to want to do some things. They're going to want to do with us." And I said, "It's a numbers game." I said, "Half the people." I was just using that the agreement meeting script. I said, "Half the people aren't going to work. Half the people wind up working with us, and half the people don't." I said, "We understand that." I said, "We think it's a great service. We offer people, blah blah." So.
Perfect. So nothing bad came from you really leaning with a happy face in an upbeat manner, pushing for the appointments.
No.
Except that you got more appointments. But did anybody blow up on you and say, back off, why are you so high pressure? Did anybody do anything like that?
No. Grumpy Gus
so
was,
guys, yeah, go ahead.
Grumpy Gus was that, and, I even told you at the end, if I would have pressured him even further to come in the office, he probably either wouldn't have done anything or made a lousy client. So
right.
At the end of the day.
So even the grumpiest guy in the room, when you pressured him, didn't blow up?
No.
No. Well, so thanks. First of all, thanks, Eric, for sharing that, and then also thanks for going ahead and just giving it. Stepping outside your comfort zone, because that's not your comfort zone, is it?
No, not at all.
To actually just to push a little bit to get people to do something that's going to be good for them. So I appreciate that very much, Eric.
Thanks for your help too. So.
Yep, thanks, Eric. And then I'm just going to say one more thing about what Eric had talked about there was that, if somebody does ask you, well, what do you get out of this? So you say, first of all, if I do these things for free, and you'll get all this information you can take back to your banker, your broker, your accountant, your attorney, your insurance agent, are you going to think I'm a good guy or a bad guy? Well, we think you're a good guy. Exactly, a good guy. Now, here's the great thing, though. So I get that. You think I'm a good guy, but also your banker, your broker, your attorney, accountant, your insurance agent, when you bring that information back to them, they're going to say, who showed you this stuff? And you're going to say, well, Mike did. So now guess what happens? I have your banker, your broker, your attorney, your accountant, your insurance agent all think that I'm a brilliant genius too. So I get that advantage as well. So I get your thinking I'm a good guy. I get all of your banker, broker, accountants, they think I'm a great guy. And I also get, again, from the people who give me this software, they continue to give me free software, free training, and free perks. So I get all sorts of things from doing this. And you, most importantly, though, get something that's going to prevent your, we're going to be able to dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure that you're not ever put in a situation where your family is going to be thrown into havoc. We're going to be able to save you money. We're going to be able to make you money with all these little things. Not the big things. Your advisors are doing the big things, but with the little things that they miss. And again, we've seen it with over 50,000 people. They all miss these things. So we all win. So if anybody ever pushes you for what you get out of it, you get their good graces, as Eric said. You also get the good graces of all their advisors because you're saving them from being put in a pickle, and you get the advantage of having free software training and perks from us. So let's see if we have any questions here. Yeah, okay. So we recapped. Yes, he did use Jeff. He did use the assumed appointments, and no pushback on that at all. So I've had, I think, I've talked to 5 different people who use the assumed appointments, and no pushback whatsoever so far from any clients. I mean, not 100% people do it, but no pushback whatsoever. So that, thank you again, Mike Bauman, and thanks, Eric, for sharing that. But Mike Bauman for the assumed appointments, because that seems to be working just fabulously. So any questions on that before I move on to my pointer of the week?
Mike, I was just going to remind people that those audios that you guys just kind of went through, those are posted out on the website underneath the Outside the Box 2014 package, underneath the video and audio training section. So the why it's a win-win and also getting appointments at the event.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we're off to the races with my pointer of the day. So Hulbert Financial Digest, again, I've talked about these guys before. Mark Hulbert is awesome because he's one of the few people out there really doing third-party analysis on money managers. So he looked at following the winners. What if we followed the winners? Now, I think we looked at something like this earlier, but this is brand new information. So he looked. This tells you the danger of 20/20 hindsight. So if we follow last year's best performer, so we took last year's best performer. So at the beginning of 2014, I looked back and looked at which money manager had the highest return for 2013, and I invested for 2014, and I did that every single year. What do you think the annualized average rate of return would be from 1991 to 2013? Any guesses on this? If I went back and used the top money managers for the next year, and I did that every single year, I adjusted every single year, I got one says 6. Anybody else? 10? Bruce, you can't make up your mind. Boy, I got 5%, I got 32%, I got 7%. You guys are out to lunch. Oops. Minus 20% a year, right, Mick? Minus 20% a year. Why? Why would that have happened? Why, if I followed last year's best performer every single year, why would I be at a negative 20% a year? I mean, how long before I was out of money with that kind of mentality? Why did that happen, guys? It's common sense. Why did that happen? If I was last year's top performer, why was I last year's top performer? Well, yeah, I'd agree, Matt. Matt says no indicator of future performance. There's no repeats. Every dog has a thing. Well, here's the thing, guys. The only way I was able to be last year's top performer is by taking a balanced approach or shooting for the stars. Yes, Gardner. He took too much risk. So when you take too much risk, sometimes that pays off, and sometimes it kicks you nowhere. So what does that say about 20/20 investing? Now, here's the thing. You say, well, yeah, last year's performance. So let's do this then. What if we follow the? What if at the end of every year, I look back and see which money manager did the best over the last 5 years? So not just 1 year, because that's crazy. How about the best money manager over the last 5 years? Well, what would my annual return be? 0.6%. 0.6%. Awesome, right? So they did great for 5 years, but what happened after 5 years? They get killed. Same reason. Because do trends last for more than a year, guys? Sometimes trends last for more than a year. So if I'm investing very, very heavily in small cap, that can work out for a while, but then what happens? Takes it on the chin. Okay, what if we go to 10-year performers? So every year I look back at which fund did the best, or which money manager did the best over the last 10 years. Well, that gets better. 9.4% a year. So is that what we should do, guys? So we should look at every year, look back over the top 10, the person who is the best rate of return for the last 10 years, best rate of return for the last 10 years, and we should invest in them. Is that what we should do? Because, I mean, 9.4% a year looks pretty good, right? It's not bad. The only problem is this. Buy and hold would have beat it by 10%. So how much cost was entailed with changing all these every single year, tax-wise? I mean, if you're not in a qualified account, tax-wise and capital gains-wise, and also with transaction costs, changing it. Yeah, exactly right, Matt. Matt says active managers will normally underperform passive investing. So, guys, here's the thing that you have to understand. Back testing is worth what? What's back testing worth? See, there's nothing that drives me more crazy than some guy that tells me, oh, I found a great money manager, and this money manager is fantastic because they lose very little money in the down years and they make so much money in the up years. That's impossible. And the first thing I ask that money manager is this. Tell me what happened with long-term capital management. And guess what 99% of the guys say when I ask them that? Long-term capital management, I don't know what that is. And then I get angry because I say, you're investing people's money, and you think you know what you're talking about, and you don't even know about long-term capital management? Long-term capital management was a company that was formed by 2 Nobel Prize-winning economists the vice chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve Board, and the CEO of, oh, shoot, not Solomon. What's one of the other ones? Gosh darn it. One of the other big brokerages. So are these guys idiots or are they smart? And they back-tested it. They back-tested it for 100 years, the model they had. They back-tested their model for 100 years. And it quadrupled its capital without having a single losing quarter. So obviously they're fantastic, right? But in the summer of '98, so after 4 years, its fortunes took a frightful downturn with terrifying suddenness. Bond markets turned skittish and all the fund's gambits ran into trouble. As long-term capital management teetered, Wall Street feared that its unraveling could set off a systematic meltdown. And William McDonough, president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, agreed on September 22nd, 23rd, by which time long-term capital management had lost $4.5 billion. He summoned the heads of major Wall Street firms along with the senior bankers of Europe to a conference at the Fed Reserve. Fearing chaos, the 14 banks, Bear Stearns, ironically, was the lone naysayer. Well, they paid for that later on, didn't they? Agreed to rescue long-term capital management by investing $3.65 billion. So it was run by 2 Nobel Prize-winning economists, 100 years back-testing, and it worked great until it what? It worked great until what? Guys, it worked great until what? It didn't exactly, Don. There is no back-testing that has anything to do with future performance. So do you get that? So anybody who's sitting there touting their great money manager because of what happened in the past, guys, what's it say at the bottom of every single mutual fund and money management performance chart? Past performance is what? No guarantee of future performance. It's really, if you think about it, outlandish that anybody's even able to show past performance. Because even though they say past performance has no indication of future performance, what are they indicating by showing it? That it does. So does that make sense? So no more of this funny business about I got a money manager that has back testing that shows that it does not lose money when things go down and it makes money when things go up. It's impossible. So let's see here. Okay. So today I want to talk a little bit about a checklist. We're going to do a tape review. I'm going to show you don't have to do things perfectly for it to work. So we're going to look at titling. So this is with a guy this is one of the guys that brought in over $10 million a year in annuity premium, but you're going to see he's not perfect. So we're going to listen to how he does here. So I have to go here to 632. We're almost there. Oops, I'm going to move over here so you can see. So we're going to listen. He's going to watch what he does when he catches himself. We all make mistakes. So he catches himself not getting on the side, and he then tries to get on the side. So that happens here in a little bit.
Okay, so as I said, if you check about the umbrella liability, just ask him about the
He's ending up with the umbrella liability about to go into titling.
That's a huge thing. Okay, your assets may not be titled correctly. It's a cost you add, waste of time and money.
Well, that I already know. I mean, I heard the plan that you divide the assets between your wife and yourself so that when you can leave twice as much in terms of total, you have half the amount of taxes for death. I think it was like $1.5 million, and you increased that to $3 million by doing it.
Right, and there's other ways to do.
Guys, this is a recording. You're never going to get crystal clear in this. So if you want to do tape reviews, you're going to just have to close your office door, turn up all the noise in your office, and listen carefully, because this is about as good as it gets for tape reviews. But we can learn a lot from tape reviews, can't we? So you're just going to have to listen very, very carefully. But you know what? That's a good exercise. It teaches you to learn or to listen carefully. So this is a great way so I've got some comments here that it's muffled. It's going to be muffled. It's always going to be muffled when we do tape reviews. But if you want to continue to do the tape reviews, which you've all told me, this is the kind of quality we're going to get, okay? So basically, I'm going to go back here and listen again here. So what is going to happen is that he's going to talk about titling, and the guy's going to say, oh, yeah, I know all about that. And you're going to find out that, so see how he deals with that. So here we go again.
Okay, your assets may not be titled correctly. It's a cost you add, waste of time and money.
Well, that I already know. I mean, I heard the plan that you divide the assets between your wife and yourself, so that when you can leave twice as much in terms of soil, you have half the amount of taxes for death. I think right, it was like $1.5 million, and you increased that to $3 million by doing it.
Right. And not, there's other ways to do, with the real estate, that's definitely what you want to do. But with
So do you see how this guy went off on a whole tangent that had nothing to do with titling? It had to do with state tax planning. And he said the advisor started to correct him, say right, but, and then he went ahead and then actually got on his side a little bit. Did you catch that? So I'm going to go back just a few seconds here, and you can see that he, because the guy's off on a tangent that has nothing to do with his point, and he's going to jump in and try to tell him, at first he's going to correct him, and then he catches himself. Instead of correct him, he gets on his side a little bit. So listen to it carefully again.
Right, it was like $1.5 million, and you increased that to $3 million by doing it.
right. And not, there's other ways to do, with the real estate.
He said, and there's other ways to do, and they said, oh, wait, I'm correcting him. And then he gets right on his side about real estate. So he did catch himself.
That's definitely what you want to do. But with the other assets of the mutual funds.
Then he used a very bad word. What word did he use, guys? But. Exactly, Dale. He used but. Exactly, Bruce. So here we go. So what are we looking for next here?
There's other ways to even avoid probate on them, too. Yeah, but
they're like a minuscule part of our...
Well, yeah, I realize that, but it's still, I mean, you know...
So the guy says, well, this is just a minuscule part of my portfolio, and instead of getting on his side, what's he going to do? And again, he used that word again. What word did he use? But. I'll play it again here. So he's pointing out that titling is a problem, and then the guy's going to say, well, that's just a minuscule part of my portfolio. And then he argues with him, well, but so what? So what if it's a minuscule part of portfolio? Shouldn't you be? And again, he doesn't use that tone of voice, but that's how people hear it. That's how people hear it. So I'll go back here.
The other assets of the mutual funds, there's other ways to even avoid probate on them, too. Yeah, but
they're like a minuscule part of our...
Well, yeah, I realize that, but it's still, I mean, you know, in relation to the whole, they're small, but they're substantial. I mean, between the mutual funds, the two Wachovia accounts, that's almost $250 million. So, I mean, it's substantial. So, again, we're looking at the whole picture. So we're going to look at, you know, the real estate portion and this portion. I mean, we need to look at everything. We can't just have blinders on.
So do you see what's he doing there, guys? So I say it's a minuscule part of my portfolio. And he's saying, yes, but look, we can't just have, he actually used the word, you can't just have blinders on. Guys, what is that? I see you're saying telling and teaching and selling, maybe, but worse than that, Matt is right. He's disagreeing. So listen to this again.
The other assets of the mutual funds, there's other ways to even avoid probate on them, too. Yeah, but
they're like a minuscule part of our...
Well, yeah, I realize that, but it's still, I mean, you know, in relation to the whole, they're small, but they're substantial. I mean, between the mutual funds, the two Wachovia accounts, that's almost $250 million. So, I mean, it's substantial. So, again, we're looking at the whole picture. So we're going to look at, you know, the real estate portion and this portion. I mean, we need to look at everything. We can't just have blinders on it because everything kind of works together.
One of the things that I shouldn't...
So did you hear that? He's saying, yeah, Matt, you're right. He's arguing. He's saying the client says it's minuscule. He goes, no, it's substantial. It's, you know, between all these accounts, it's $250,000. We can't have our blinders on. We have to be... Again, he didn't use it my kind of tone, but guys, you get that even if he's not using my tone, it's not what you say, it's what you're perceived to be saying. Now, this guy's not getting angry, but could you, again, if you do an hour-and-a-half meeting and if you're doing this continually, what can happen? People will get irritated. So we'll keep on going here.
Which I guess somebody should be aware of is that the apartments that I have now are condos, except they're on the 40. So, I mean, they become much more liquid if they recorded and become timeless. They're not.
Well, I'm going to bring up, so now this guy's moved on. So what's the problem there, guys? So the client has moved on. What's the problem? Or what does the advisor have to do? Yeah, he's not interested. Exactly. He's ignoring the advisor. He has no control. So can we ever move on from a point until the client gets it? We can't. So let's see how he handles it.
According to not want to pay taxes on it. Mm-hmm. So the reason I did it that way is in order to get a condo in the DC, which is where they are, you have to get the vote of over half the tenants. So I avoided that step by doing it the way I did it. I see. And so somebody's going to have to be aware of that. I would think that myself and my wife wouldn't do that, but later on, people want liquidity, they might want to convert to condos.
The condos, yeah.
So somehow that type of explanation should be something.
Yeah, and that's important. That's very important. And as I said, we want to, the properties, we haven't really, we talked about it.
So did he give him a little getting on their side there? He said, yep, that's important. That's very important. And those of you who are on the Friday call, saying, hey, that's important, that's very important, is that okay to do that, guys? That was getting on his side. Was that okay to do that, guys? Yeah, it was. But is it enough over and over and over, Kevin? So it took, no, exactly, Kevin. So doing that, so, hey, that's exactly right. You're right on target there. That's fine, but you can't do that every time. Sometimes you got to expound on it. So that was fine with what he did there, but on a scale of 1 to 10, getting on their side, I'd give that a 3. Okay? But still, good. At least he's getting on their side occasionally. So here we go.
Some last time, but we'll talk more about them because obviously
they're about also how they're held, which is LLCs, and I don't know exactly what the LLCs are doing. I assume that they were like unto themselves, and nobody can get any of that LLC.
Well, with the LLCs, the properties are in the name of the LLC.
Yeah.
Okay. If the properties are in the name.
So what's he doing there, guys? He didn't do anything wrong. He did not argue with them, but he also didn't what? Use that as an opportunity to get on his side. Instead, he hopped right into what? Some of you talked about it earlier. Teaching mode. Here, let me show you what you don't know. Education, exactly, Andy. Education. So what you want to do is, again, he didn't do anything wrong there. Because it's not required that you get on somebody's side, but never argue with them. So he did not argue with them there, but he missed an opportunity to get on their side. So here we go.
Of the LLC.
Each property is a separate LLC.
Okay. What that does, it protects the other properties and you personally, really, because what happens is if something happens on one of those properties, they'll sue the LLC.
Just within the property, though.
Right.
Somebody can't come from outside, say from one of my other assets, and protect them.
Exactly.
That's what I was hoping.
And that's what's being done, because if each one is a separate LLC, it's a separate entity unto itself.
So the attorney didn't even know that.
Really?
So he did get on his side just a tiny bit there, but this advisor likes to educate while he's trying to get on somebody's side. And again, that's fine, but occasionally, so we're into this now for 3 minutes, and have we heard a great, in 3 minutes, have we heard just one great getting on their side in 3 minutes? Not one. And we've heard twice now he's corrected him. There we go.
Okay. He was thinking that somebody could attach part of my LLC from if I had a lien somewhere else. I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah.
But he set up the LLC. Limited liability corporation. Corporations are just entities unto themselves.
They're separate legal entities.
Now, probably because of the tape quality, you can't hear this, but for the first time in 3 minutes, we hear who speak. Now, you didn't hear this, but guess who we just heard speak in the background? The wife. So who's not being included in this conversation? The wife. And we've talked about this over and over and over again. Who wears the pants in the family? The wife. Do not ignore the wife. And you're going to see that little utterance is the only time we're going to hear her during this whole conversation. That's crazy. make sure you include the wife. Here we go.
Or, so instead of a person, in other words, the guy's got an LLC for the apartment building, so
I get two different
or
ones.
two different ones. Say for each apartment building, he's got an LLC. Theoretically, he doesn't own it, the apartment building. The LLC owns it.
So she says something, and what does he do immediately? Basically tells her to shut up. How? How is he telling her never to talk again? Guys, when you teach and preach and sell and tell, when somebody brings up a point and you preach, teach, tell, and sell, that's exactly that you don't know anything. He corrects her, exactly. That's what's happening here. You cannot do that. So the first time he had an opportunity to bring her into the conversation, instead he says, well, he corrects her. Unbelievable. But yet, this guy writes over $10 million a year. So you don't even have to do it right, but if you do it kind of right, it works. So don't be afraid to do it. And we're here to tear him apart, not because it doesn't work. Like I said, this guy got this client. And if I don't know if you heard, this client thought $235,000 was a minuscule part of his portfolio. So you know how much money the guy has. And they got him, but he could have done so much better. So here we go.
Okay, so if somebody were to sue within that building, the only thing they could go after would be that building. They couldn't touch his personal assets or the other apartment buildings.
So I was really looking at it the opposite way. I didn't want somebody who had a lien against me for some other reason to go after the LLC. I figured that the LLC was...
No, true. So it works both ways.
I figured that each apartment building, I wanted to preserve those assets, and I figured I'd preserve them being LLCs. But in terms of the will, if nobody is an owner, aren't I and my wife own shares in the LLC, something like that?
Right, and the shares are what you would will.
Yeah, so in other words, but the shares have to be divided in such a way where I can accomplish this, where we...
And this whole 30 seconds here, what's his tone? Do you get how he's basically, well, sure, I mean, that's going to, what you do? When I have that kind of tone, well, sure, that's what it, well, sure, that's what's in the will. What's that tone? Let me play it again. Well, let's do his tone for this 30 seconds.
Yeah, but the opposite way. I didn't want somebody who had a lien against me for some other reason to go after the LLC. I figured that the LLC was...
No, true. So it works both ways.
Well, sure. I mean, it works both ways. Well, sure, it works both ways.
I figured that each apartment building, I wanted to preserve those assets, and I figured I'd preserve them being LLCs. But in terms of the will, if nobody is an owner, aren't I and my wife own shares in the LLC, something like that?
Right, and the shares are what you would will.
Yeah, so in other words, but the shares have to be divided in such a way where I can accomplish this, where we get $3 million instead of $1.5 million of protection or whatever the amounts are now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, it's going up. I mean, by 2009, it's going to be unlimited. But then in 2010, it goes back to.
So again, he's jumping in and what? Exactly, Matt and Kevin. Exactly. He's not flattering the client. It sounds like he's an attorney critical of each thing he's saying, and now he's going to teach again. So guys, I know we want to teach, but the only thing that people are going to believe is something we say or they say themselves. So if there's something I if there's a point I want to make, I'm going to ask a question so the client can make it themselves. But this guy's jumping in immediately to show how smart he is, because we believe the more smart they believe we are, the more likely they are to work with us. No, nobody likes a smart ass.
About 650,000. So.
Oh, there's down?
Yeah. Yeah, it's repealed as of 2010, 2011. In other words, it goes up, 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 and then they repeal it. It's set to be repealed and go right back down to where it was.
Oh, I thought it's not $1.5 million.
No, it is now.
Oh, what's happening there, guys? Did you hear that? I'll play it again. Oops, I went too far back. Just a second here. Listen to this.
And in 2010, it goes back to about 650,000. So.
Oh, there's down?
Yeah. Yeah, it's repealed as of 2010, 2011. In other words, it goes up, 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 and then they repeal it. It's set to be repealed and go right back down to where it was.
Oh, Oh, I thought it's not $1.5 million.
Well, it is now, but it's going to go up. It goes up every.
Well, I thought it was going to do this. Well, it is now. Guys, this is not that. So what would I say if he said, well, I thought it was going to do this? Yeah, well, I thought that, I thought that too. And then when I looked at it, it was surprising, but I found that it did. That's how you handle it. You don't say, well, I thought it was going to do this. Well, it is now. Do you get that, guys? Do you hear it? How loud is that in your ears when you're listening to this on the outside? Yeah, it should be good, Matt. See, Matt's saying it's loud, and it should be. And when I say loud, I mean loud that, holy cow, I can't believe he did that. And we all do it all the time without noticing it. Do you think that this advisor realizes he's arguing with the client right now? He has no clue he's arguing with the client.
Year until 2009, 2010, and then after that it goes back to where it started, which was like at 650,000.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it is, and that's something that's being debated in Congress on and off, all the time. So we don't. That's the way it stands now, and we've got to act.
See, here's the thing. And then the guy says, "Oh, that's terrible. I didn't know that's the way it works." So then, as an advisor, we think what? When the client gives us that feedback, we think what? We did a great job or a bad job? We think we did a great job. Because obviously, I educated the client, and he was amazed by my knowledge. He says, wow, that's bad. Could you have come to the same conclusion without correcting them 3-4 times? So, guys, when you correct them all the time, not one of those corrections is going to cause them to get perturbed at you. But eventually, they are going to get perturbed at you. And they don't want you to teach them as much as they want to learn themselves.
As though that's what's going to happen. What's actually going to happen, who knows? But that's the way the law is written now.
So that would affect us only after both myself and my wife died.
Right. Yeah, only after you're both gone. And as I said, at that point, it will be after 2010. We'll see what's going on, what the real law is, and then have to act accordingly. So, now we never want to act in anticipation of what may happen. We've got to act based on what's in place right now, and just keep up with things. So, as things change, we can make adjustments. Okay. Next item, you're presently paying $7,359 on unneeded taxes. Now, what I did here, there's a copy for you. I did this against your 04 return, and what I did was...
Okay, he's moved on to taxes. Do you really think that client understands the problems with the titling of his assets? I agree, Matt. He didn't. All it ended up being is a discussion about LLCs and all sorts of things. But did the guy ever leave with the fact that, holy cow, my assets are titled incorrectly, and what would happen to them and their family by that? Was there any talk about probate? Was there any talk about unnecessary costs and lawyer fees in there, guys? So he let the client drag him off topic, and he never came back to the actual topic. So what was accomplished during the titling phase of this conversation? Not only was not good things accomplished, bad things were accomplished, because we didn't even get the commitment that the titling was wrong as investments, and we argued with him during the meantime. So that's crazy, 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 crazy. So, as Jeff tells you when you do the 21-point checklist with him, the 21-point checklist, the purpose of that is to keep us on track. So when we look, and it's fine with having an outline of the 21-point checklist. So look at that, before you move on to the next thing, look at what you covered now and say, did I get what I needed there? So do you think that guy thought that there was anything wrong with his titling? Do you think that was even a figment of his imagination, there was something wrong with his titling? No. So we argued about this, that, and the other thing, but we didn't even get what we wanted there, which was for him to say, my titling is wrong, oh my. And who would have been a fantastic person to have that conversation with? The wife, to have her realize that the kids are going to go unnecessarily through probate, and the kids are going to have to hassle with costs, and the kids are going to have to hassle with attorneys, where it could have all been avoided by having correct titling. but we completely ignored her. But see, this is a great example of just doing the 21-point checklist. Just going through the action of doing the 21-point checklist is going to help you close lots of cases. And a lot of you already have talked to me about that just in the last month or so, about the fact that you're seeing the 21-point checklist closing cases. Even though you're not experts at it, you're seeing it close cases. And why does it do that? Because they see us covering things that nobody else covers. We can't tell people that we're better. We can't tell people that we care more. But we can actually show them that we care more by covering all these things nobody else covers, and it changes their mindset about us. Okay? But now he's going to jump into the taxes, and let's watch what he does here. Let's see. I missed a couple. Oops, got to back up here. So there's two opportunities here. Here we go.
Eliminate the bank interest and the dividends, okay, because they can be sheltered so as they're not taxed. And the difference to you, when your 04 return, your tax liability was $31,281. If you look on the second page there, the liability is $23,922.
And then you wrote this over again and wrote the other one?
Here's the one, the original, and I redid it based on.
So he missed an opportunity. The guy asked a question, so you rewrote this or redid my taxes? What could he have said there to get on our side, or get on his side? Hey, that's excellent. You picked it up. That's exactly what I did. I did it. Instead, he doesn't give the guy any credit for identifying what he did. Instead, he wants to instruct him what he did. Guys, do you get the difference there? So I'm going to play this again. So he's asked. The guy asks, you know, what did you do? Did you? Because this advisor did a mock tax return. I highly recommend that you guys learn how to do this, and Jeff would be more than happy to show you how to do it. But he did a mock tax return, and the guy figures out, says, oh, so you basically just redid my taxes to show me what happened? And the guy, it almost sounds like the advisor saying, no, I didn't redo your taxes. No, I redid your taxes. So here's an opportunity for the advisor to get on his side, but instead, even though the guy gave him exactly what he wanted, he instead almost sounds like he's correcting him. Do you get that? Listen to this again. I'm going to go back a little bit here. Here we go.
Tax liability was $31,281. If you look on the second page there, the liability is $23,922.
And then you wrote this over again and wrote the other one?
Here's the one, the original, and I redid it based on eliminating the bank interest and the dividends.
So again, is he arguing with them? No. Anybody listen? His tone of voice is not arguing. He's not belittling the guy. He's talking a very nice voice. He's educating him. But while he educated, the guy told him, said, hey, did I do, is this a mock tax return? And the advisor says, well, here, let me show you. I did a mock tax return. Dude, why didn't you just congratulate the guy for giving you the right answer? So he didn't do anything wrong, but he missed a huge opportunity to do something right. So guys, let me get some answers to this. What does getting on their side, these little verbal pats in the back do for you? What's it do? What are we trying to accomplish with these little verbal pats in the back? First of all, before you answer, I'm going to give you one of the answers, which is it helps us disguise all the questions we're asking. That's one thing it does. It helps us disguise all the questions we're asking. But what's another reason that we're doing all these little verbal pats in the back? You're their friend, Brahma, exactly. What else, guys? Build trust and allows people to make their own decisions. Absolutely, Eric. Gets them on your team. Absolutely, Andy. So yeah, we build rapport by giving them these little verbal pats in the back, telling them how smart they are. How long will people sit and listen to how great they are, how smart they are, how insightful they are? And instead, we have all these opportunities to tell him how smart he is, and instead we ignore those opportunities and try to tell him how smart we are. But isn't that human nature? We would much rather have people understand how smart we are than compliment other people for how smart they are. Is that human nature, guys? We would much rather ignore people, telling people how smart they are, and instead make sure they understand how smart we are. when you can park your ego at the door, and not once try to show how smart you are, but instead let the client be smart through the entire meeting, guess what happens to your practice? Guess what happens to your life? Guess what happens to all your relationships? When you get up in the morning and you remove that ego and you put it in a little box on your side table, and instead you don't try to be right once in that day, but instead let everybody else be up or be right all the way, man, you're right, Brahma. You will soar. There's nothing in the world you cannot get by having other people realize that they want what you want. Instead of you telling people what you want, letting them realize what you want, letting them find out what you want, it's unbelievable. So I'm gonna see if we can finish it up here.
In other words, the interest that I kept in there was the mortgages, because that's, but I kept, what I did is what can be sheltered or what can be.
How's that sheltered?
There's different ways to do it. I mean, but it can't, anytime I see.
Again, how is that sheltered? Well, there's different ways to do it. He didn't do anything wrong. The guy asked the question, how can these be sheltered? Well, there's different ways to do it. Can't we just say, hey, that's a great question? It's a little thing like that, over and over and over.
The bank interest or dividends that you're essentially not using, you're paying taxes on money you're not using is what it comes down to. And we can do different things with that.
I always got angry at that somehow I could get a statement from a mutual fund or something, even though I didn't get any money at all.
Exactly. And you should get angry, because you're paying taxes on money you're not using.
So there, he got on his side. I get angry when I find it, when I see that tax bill and I'm not on money I'm not even using. The guy says, you should be raised. So he did get on this side there, so that was good. One more, and we're going to listen one more minute, and then we're done here.
Accountants at tax time, or sometimes they talk about.
Oh, I got to go back here because it's very panic.
The dividends. In other words, there's different ways to do it.
I could get a statement from a mutual fund or something, even though I didn't get any money at all.
Exactly. And you should get angry, because you're paying taxes on money you're not using.
So my accountant didn't know that. Accountants at tax time.
So he says, my accountant didn't know that. So you're telling me my accountant didn't know I could save that money. And instead of getting on his side, instead it seems like what? Like he was caught by surprise, and he's panicking. He's going, what? Do you see also how getting on people's side can give us those needed 3 or 4 or 5 seconds to know what the next thing we want to say is? It smooths things out. So you could have said, hey, that's a good question, because, your accountant does do your taxes. So, what does he, let's think about this. What does he do with taxes? And then you can walk them right through what accountants do. Do accountants save people taxes? No, they're historians. They fill in the blanks right to keep you out of trouble with the IRS. So we can have that conversation with him. If he says, well, are you telling my accountant didn't know this? Well, that's a great question, because let's walk through what accountants know and how they work. So you bring your stuff to them on what, January, February, and then you just walk them through it. Did it sound like I was arguing when I do it that way? But now listen to it again and how he panics here. Instead, if he would have got on their side, it would have smoothed that panic out. It's not a horrible panic, but watch how it rocks him on his heels a little bit. If I ever get, let's see, here we go. I'll have to go back just a tiny bit. Sorry. There we go.
And we can do different things with that.
I always got angry at that somehow I could get a statement from a mutual fund or something, even though I didn't get any money at all.
Exactly. And you should get angry, because you're paying taxes on money you're not using.
So my accountant didn't know that. Accountants at tax time, sometimes they talk about it, sometimes they just really don't pay attention to it, quite honestly. Okay. But it's very simple. There's ways to do it. We're not.
So he didn't get on their side, and then he basically attacked his accountant. So is that good, guys? Instead of walking, the only person who's allowed to attack his accountant is who, guys? Him. So if we got it on his side and then just walk the client through how accountants work, think about it. I say, no, that's a great point. because you know your accountant does your taxes, and he's going to know your taxes more than anybody else. And let's think about this. So, you know, when I do my taxes, you know, first thing I do is I gather all my information. I drop them off. You know, when do you normally drop your tax information off? Well, I drop it off in the beginning of April. Yeah, that's what I do. I'm kind of a late guy too. I do that too. You know, and how many other people are like us that are dropping all their information off at the same time? Well, I think most people, because nobody wants to pay tax. Exactly. So all of a sudden, your poor tax guy, my poor tax guy, they're getting deluged with taxes, aren't they? And you know what? They have to have these things done by what? Well, by April 15th. Yeah. So he's got 100 different ones to get done by April 15th, and you know he's working how many hours? Well, I imagine a lot of hours. Yeah, he's working a lot of. Who's doing the talking here, guys? He's going to explain to me why his accountant does not have time to figure out how to save you taxes. He's barely got time to do what, guys? The accountant barely has time to do what? Eat, exactly, to get the other, to breathe, to get the other returns done. But can I tell him that? No, I'm going to have them tell me that the accountant has no time but except to get all those returns out. They don't have time to do research and go through a thorough review and try to figure out how all their clients are going to save money. They don't have time. I can't tell them that, but I'm going through a bunch of questions where the client comes to that own conclusion. Does that make sense? Which has nothing to do with this, except I wanted to know there is a way to not argue with people. Just ask them questions, and they'll come to your conclusion. Does that make sense? So we're at the top of the hour. Did these kind of tape reviews help you on these Monday calls? Now, on Fridays, we work on them ourselves. But do the tape reviews like this help you on the Monday calls? Super. So would you like to see more of these? If we had a couple of these a month, would that be helpful? Okay, I'm getting a lot of yeses. Good. So you understand then that this is about as good as the quality is, so you're just going to have to close your eyes and really concentrate on listening to these things. But this will help you hear other guys in action. Now, this guy is a big writer. He makes a lot of money, but did he do it perfectly? No. That's the importance of just doing the 21-point checklist. This guy wasn't writing $2 million when he came on board with us, and he ended up writing over $10 million year after year after being with us. So the 21-point checklist is a powerful tool, even when you're not doing it perfectly, okay? So thanks, everybody. Hope you have a fantastic week, and we'll talk to you all on Friday. Make sure you're on those calls. We've been getting great attendance. Make sure you're on those Friday calls. People are really getting a lot out of them. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.